put your hands together as we receive our very own pastor, the Reverend Dr. Arthur D. Sims, Sr.
Brothers and sisters, we stand in an hour and a time and a place where the world is in chaos. Throughout the Middle East, throughout Europe, and even westerly to America. We are facing challenges and atrocities that we have never faced before in this form. We've always faced war, and the Bible says there will always be war and rumors of war. But certainly we can testify that we need God as we never needed him before. Not only has international challenges become national issues, there are those who say that it is best to kill on other soil before the killing takes place on this soil. But still, the loss of life is the loss of life. We are witnessing in our states death seemingly in the name of those who are radical in religion. And we must admit we have been radical in the formation of our history. But even in our homes, on college campuses, and I cannot leave out the church, we are in trouble. And so the question comes to me for this morning and at 11 o'clock. Do we have any room for Jesus? In this text today, the governor, as evangelist read to you, had passed a decree. And Joseph, with his espoused wife, went down to Judea to Bethlehem, accordingly to obey the governor's call for a census. And there the time came when the Christ child should be born. And put it shortly, they tried to get room in the inn. Now, we don't know what kind of inn it was. I don't know whether it could be classified as 5-star, 4-3, or just a little hut. But the Bible does say, and then based on Joseph's probably income, it couldn't have been a delightful inn. But there was no room. And the Christ child had to be born in a manger. Now that we don't get confused, this manger wasn't anything pretty. It was just like a trough. where I used to feed the pigs and the other animals. Come on, talk to me. When I was a Georgia boy. But the thing I want to get across to you, there was no end, there was no room for Jesus to be born, no room in the end. So may I say to you today that we are innkeepers of our hearts. Oh yes, we have an inn, I-N-N. We have a hotel. We have a place where accommodation ought to be. And we are the innkeepers. In other words, just as, let's say, the clerk or the owner of that inn that refused Jesus' interest, we have that same position over our hearts today. We can say to Jesus today, you can come in or you can stay out. I wish somebody talk to me. Mankind has a history of rejecting Christ. Are you going to talk to me? Yes, even Adam was disobedient. We are disobedient today. For we are not doing what God has required of us. And even in Isaiah 53, it talks about how we rejected Christ. Man is a stubborn creature whose heart is filled with rejection. And so I raise the question to you as innkeepers of your heart. Have you made room for Jesus? Well, let's see, because at this time, in order to make room, we got to get rid of something. Have you ever been faced with a situation where you got so much stuff in your house? Oh, I wish I'd talk. Where you start gathering stuff you don't want and start getting rid of it and putting it out for the trash man, the recycling man to pick it up, because you realize that your house is filled with stuff you don't need and with stuff you ought not want. Can I get a church? Well, I want to move you from moving out stuff in your house to moving out stuff in your heart. There ought to be a discarding of trash in our hearts today that we ought not have. You ought not have any use for jealousy. You ought not have any room for envy. You ought not have any space for a lack of obedience. Can I get a witness here? You ought not have any room in your hearts for the atrocities of life that would divide your home. You ought to have no room for our betrayal of the cross. So I say to us today that if you are going to have in a room, you must start discarding some stuff. I'm asking you this morning, have you start putting out stuff that you don't have to have? Oh yes, there's a song that says, search my heart, and if you find anything that should not be, take it out and strengthen me. Lord, I want to be right. I want to be saved. And I want to be whole.
You have just heard the voice of the Reverend Dr. Arthur D. Sims Sr. of Pinehills Fellowship Baptist Church of Pine Hills, Orlando, Florida. We invite you to come back 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. We have church school at 9:45 a.m. every Sunday morning. We invite you to be a part of this dynamic flourishing church family. God bless you.